My name is Boniface Mwangi, and I'm a human rights defender, a grassroots mobilizer, and an advocate for rule of law. Death threats are not new to me and my family, but the current regime has taken it to a new low. During the 10 years of Uhuru's regime, I was threatened with death many times. Twice I was accused of trying to overthrow the government in 2014 and 2019. I was even arrested and taken to Central Police Station. And the government deemed me a person of interest in an alleged plot to stage a revolution against the then government of Uhuru Kenyatta. I was arrested many times, taken to court numerous times on trapped-up charges, but never once found guilty of any charges. In 2016, my family had to seek safety in exile. In 2017, I was shot at close range with a tear gas canister and had to later undergo surgery. In 2021, hired goons planted pipe bombs in the family home we're building in Machakos. I'm still here, by God's grace, alive and undeterred. However, threats on my life have increased since I took part in last year's protest, and my life's normalcy has been shattered. On October 9, 2025, that is Thursday this past week, something very disturbing happened as I was traveling to Kilifi County. I had packed my own carry-on bag, passed through 2 security checks at JKIA, and on my way to board the plane, my bag was taken away by an airline attendant. I gave them my bag and they gave me a luggage slip. I got into the flight, and upon reaching to Malindi, I retrieved my bag. On my way to my hotel, I decided to remove a power bank from my suitcase. And when I opened my suitcase, in between the shots that had been packed by my daughter, I found a bullet casing, a blank. I used ammunition. It is right here. I haven't touched it properly. In my bag. This was put between the time I gave my attendant the bag and the time I got to Malindi, because I packed my own bag. I passed through the screening at JKIA. The first screening, there was a scanner, and the second one, there was a scanner, and I did not have this in my bag. But when I landed in Malindi and I opened my bag, I found this in my bag. I called my lawyer, one of my lawyers is here, and other people who were part of the human rights movement, and I said, what do I do? I was planning to go to Kilifi police station and report the matter. Then I was advised not to do that because I'm currently facing up trumped-up charges of ammunition possession, and going to the police station would have meant that I would be arrested for the police to investigate. Like most Kenyans, I do not trust the police. I've decided to take the bold decision to share this latest threat with the country, regardless of any potential consequences. For it's in our silence that emboldens those intent on doing us harm. It is clear that my life is in danger and has been for quite some time now. The attempts to intimidate me are brazen and far more direct. I appear to have been singled out for harassment since no other Kenyan in recent times has experienced so many arrests, targeted character assassination, and physical attacks as I have. Since June 2024, I've been arrested 5 times. I also escaped an attempted abduction outside the city mortuary on 21st June 2024. On July 20th, 2024, there was an attempted raid on my office. This particular office, goons came outside with motorbikes, recorded videos, and posted them on social media, saying they're going to invade my home as well. Police did not open any investigations. On September 20th, 2024, I was standing outside a Harambee house when a team of police officers and armed men in plain clothes tried to grab me. I was saved by fellow comrades. A month later, on October 27, 2024, that is last year, I was arrested by police at my home, detained at Kamkunji police station, and then released without charges. Over the past year, I've been explicitly targeted and demonized by the ruling regime. They frequently sponsor smear campaigns to manufacture anger and rage against me. Posters and videos are circulated blaming me for extrajudicial killings that have been perpetrated by the state. Social media accounts are created just to flood my comment section after I post anything, and trolls attack me constantly, some even demanding that I should be killed. They don't even use pseudonyms to make those threats because they work for this regime. and I don't even bother to report them because nothing is going to happen. My communications have been monitored and disrupted. As a movement which I'm part of, we've been experienced enforced internet disruptions during key mobilization events. We have had our events cancelled without any explanation and been denied permission to hold events in public spaces. Digital and physical surveillance shadows everywhere we go. On April 2nd, 2025, I was violently arrested in this particular office and almost shot by officers from Kilimani Police Station. I was taken to Kilimani Police Station and brutally beaten inside the police cells. The beating was so severe that I ended up in Nairobi Hospital for treatment. Instead of charging the officers who assaulted me, I'm the one in court defending myself against allegations of assaulting them. On May 3rd, 2025, the police arrested two of my colleagues, Mark Denver Carufio and Brian Adagala, on false allegations of producing the BBC documentary Blood Parliament, which documented the role of the state in the killing of innocent civilians during the 2024 anti-finance bill protests. More than 4 months later, they haven't been formally charged. A day before the June 25th, 2025 first anniversary of the Gen Z martyrs, two people I was working with were to mobilize safety marshals, former Harambee Stars Captain Robert Otiti and boxing Olympian Suleiman Bilali, were arrested on the allegation of using social media to incite demonstrators to invade State House. They had not posted anything. On June 27, three other human rights defenders who were also part of my team, John Mulingwa Zhao, Maka Miani, and Francis Mutunge Mwangi, were arrested while traveling to Mombasa and arraigned on arson, theft, vandalism, and terrorism charges. The court released them unconditionally. So the government has been arresting everyone around me. Then they came for me. Many other activists have been arrested under false charges, with the majority of cases being dismissed. This catch and release is a government ploy aimed at sabotaging our progress and demoralizing human rights defenders. There have been attempts to infiltrate my team with human assets, aka snitches, and co-opt my allies and advisors by trying to turn them against me. The government is funding people who claim to be part of the movement to sow mistrust and confusion. This year, on July 19th, in the lead up to my presidential bid announcement, DCI came to my home without a warrant, arrested me, then proceeded to illegally ransack my house. They confiscated 2 mobile phones, a laptop, and 3 notebooks. They did not have a warrant to search my home. They then drove me to my office, which is here, and produced a warrant to search my office. The detectives took 9 external hard drives, 2 laptops, company seals, 6 checkbooks, stamp duty documents. They posted on their social media account that have been arrested for facilitating terrorism and money laundering, among other false accusations. And then later, they quietly returned my property. Unfortunately, they cloned my electronics and planted spyware on them. Our family's private moments in the custody of rogue police force. Despite withdrawing the terrorism charges, the post online on Twitter, on X, on Facebook is still there, and it associates me with terrorism, and I was never charged with terrorism. The government is using legal and illegal channels to try and frustrate me and intimidate me. They have instigated multiple criminal charges. There are plans to forcefully accuse me of failing to pay taxes, and they're targeting my finances. I've been reliably informed that there will be efforts made to deregister my businesses, among other forms of financial sabotage. The IBC will also be pressured to challenge my eligibility to run for president. They intend to exploit ethnic divisions, portraying me as an entitled Kikuyu in an attempt to turn public opinion against me. The National Intelligence Service, led by Nuruddin, is wasting taxpayers' money by coordinating and financing these vile attacks, both online and offline. As I said before, threats are not new to me. However, the events of this past weekend have left me shaken, and I now believe my life is in serious danger. just just like the lives of my friends, Tanzanians presidential hopeful Tundu Lissu and Uganda's Kizza Besigye. There were 159 recorded deaths from last year's protest. And this year, between June 25th and July 11th, over 65 protesters were killed and over 600 people injured. Many businesses were looted and destroyed. Women were raped, some of them gang raped. These heinous acts were carried out by goons who were sponsored by politicians and the government, working in tandem with the police. Not a single person has been held accountable. The Nairobi Central Business District is monitored by police using CCTV. Parliament, City Hall, Supreme Court, they have CCTV, and we have been demanding that they make public the footage from last year so that we can know who did these actions. The regime has lied that there will be no more abductions, but innocent Kenyans are still being found dead inside police cells and morgues. The secret hit squads that abduct, torture, and murder citizens are still in operation. The secret torture chambers where people who are abducted are taken are still operational. The regime wants to pretend to compensate victims of extrajudicial killings as it simultaneously continues to abduct, arrest, maim, and kill innocent citizens with zero sense of accountability or justice. The only tool left in the hand of this state is bribery, blackmail, threats, violence, abductions, and assassinations. The targeted harassment, character assassination, and accusation of terrorism are part of a broader plan by the regime to discredit me before they murder me. They have billions and bullets, but you have truth, people power, and God, and that combination is an unstoppable force. My generation will liberate our country once and for all. Kufinish Kumalo. Time is on the side of the youth and all of us as Kenyans. If anything happens to me, look no further than the state. This regime is afraid that the tide of change is blowing and they'll be swept into oblivion by it. They fear the movement, which is now leaderless, which is much bigger than myself or any single person. Change is here. The minds of our young people have tasted the freedoms provided by the Katiba, and they can never go back to the politics of deceit, hate, tribalism, and division. We are ready to secure our freedoms, our country, and our future. This regime can arrest me, plant evidence, try and intimidate me all they want, but they cannot stop an idea whose time has come. Dedan Kimathi's execution did not prolong colonization. Political assassinations did not prevent the end of the single-party rule. I am and have always been a peace-loving Kenyan who has fought for and defended the truth. I'll continue organizing with young people for the inevitable ballot revolution and to help create a better Kenya for all. One of the things that inspire me about the many Kenyans that have been standing up against this evil regime is their courage to believe that a better Kenya is possible. That's what we're all fighting for. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to press forward in spite of it. I speak courage fluently, and I will never stop fighting for a better Kenya. God bless you, and God bless Kenya.
I have come here as one of the lawyers for this presidential hopeful, Boniface Mwangi, because of the events that he has described. And one is clear that he is a person of great interest to the Kenyan government because it believes that he is one of the foremost leaders of the youth movement in this country. And after the president had promised to be the advocate of hustlers, clearly, when he was promising to do that, he just wanted a stand for elections to be elected. He didn't mean it, or he has abandoned them. And so there is this perception that one of the foremost advocates now for the hustlers, for the middle class, is Boniface Mwangi. And that is why he's being pursued more than perhaps any other presidential candidate, to the extent that there are these arrests on a very regular basis, even threats on his life. And it is clear to me that all these activities that the government is undertaking are not going to stop the youth movement, and indeed a movement of all Kenyans of goodwill who want different, who want change. And whatever the government does to Mwangi is one individual in a huge movement. One might think that the movement is now dormant, but there is always time for a movement to reflect and to organize even better. So targeting Mwangi is not really going to make a difference, because even if he was not there, and he must be there, he has family, he has a cause, and his family is even here. The family that at some point was made to go to exile because of the threats that were imminent. So even if anything happens to Mwangi, in actual fact, that will fuel the revolution that is on the way for democracy, for a proper country, and all that kind of stuff. We know that Mwangi, among other progressive leaders, are agitating for a country where the constitution is respected, where young people have employment, where there is no corruption, where there is rule of law, there is observance of human rights, so that Kenya does not become a failed state. Because this country, as we all know, is an anchor state in the East African region. And therefore, the young people, they have consistently said that they will not allow it to go to the dogs, to fail. So I think some of what I've heard from young people and others is the government actually should offer security to presidential officials who have announced, and particularly Boniface, so that we know he is secure, so that nothing happens to him. And finally, I would like to say that part of why there is a lot of interest in Mwangi is it is probably believed that he's one of the people who have the capacity to get young people to be in charge of a 2002 moment in our country come 2027. So young people are watching, Kenya's middle class is watching, Generation Zote are watching when there is this targeting of an individual, like has happened in Uganda, Besigye, as he said, Tanzania, Tundu Lissu. So these governments in the East African region must deliver and not resort to violence, to intimidation, to assassinations, and so on. They are not elected to disappear their people. They are elected to provide for their people. And if they are not able to do that, they can as well resign and let other people take over. And it is indeed true, as Mwangi has said, these young people, they have time on their side. And some of the politicians of your years, politicians from the Moi era, because those from the Kenyatta era are no more, but from Moi era going to the present, they are old and tired without important ideas. And the young people are saying that we require, to breathe freshness into Kenya, into East Africa, into African. Therefore, it is good to accept that this is a reality and deal with that kind of reality instead of thinking that intimidations and arrests and trolling and all those kinds of things will provide a solution. Thank you.
This particular press conference and the targeting of Boniface Mwangi is a segment of a continued pattern, not just in Kenya, but in Uganda and Tanzania and the entire region, where government critics, including activists and opposition politicians, are being targeted for assassination, targeted for disappearance, targeted for harassment, and as a people, we must recognize it as such. Boniface Mwangi and others, including Bob Njagi, Nicholas Oyo, are Kenyans, East Africans who have stood firmly against oppression in this country. And they continue to speak truth to power. And what we are seeing now is that those in power are using all forms of harassment, including cross-border repression, to try and silence the critics who are speaking boldly against the violations that are being witnessed across this region. We are asking Museveni, we are asking Suluhu, and we are asking Ruto to respect the constitutions of their countries. Every citizen, including activists and opposition politicians, have every right to air their concerns and to deliver their feelings about this country. You cannot silence people using repression. You cannot silence people by using extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. And that's why we are here today, to stand in solidarity with Boniface Mwangi, to stand in solidarity with Bob Njagi, with Nicholas Oyo, and to tell the government of Kenya, enough is enough already. We shall not remain silent. We shall not remain quiet when these atrocities continue to be committed. We have seen how activists have been targeted, how opposition politicians have been targeted through trumped-up charges, through planting of false evidence, as is the case with Boniface Mwangi here today, and we will not allow that to continue happening in our country. Lastly, it's a call for unity across the region, calling on all Kenyans, Ugandans, and Tanzanians to stand firmly together, united against oppressive governments in this region. We are the ones we have been waiting for. No one else will come to save us if we do not stand up today and demand justice in our region.
Tunasikia story habari za magaidi. Magaidi wenyewe tunawajua. Boniface Mwangi alishikwa kwa sababu ya ugaidi, wanasema mobilize vijana mwaka jana. Lakini waliochoma parliament na Supreme Court walilipwa na serikali. Si vijana, sisi tulitokea kupigania haki yetu. Alafu kuhusu Bob Njagi na Nicholas Oyo, tumeona marais wa East Africa wa jumuiya wameungana. Na sisi vijana wa jumuiya pia tunaenda kuungana. Tunaendelea kupokea mentorship from our mentors. Wanajua wakishika Boni ni movement, but also hawajui wakishika huyu wengine pia wanakuwa. Na sisi pia tuko hapa tunasema Alhamisi tunatokea kwa maandamano hadi ambapo Nicholas Oyo na Bob Njagi waachiliwe huru. Tunaambia serikali, tafadhali ongea huko. Sisi tutastorm hiyo Foreign Affairs Ministry because the office is illegal. The office is illegal. There's no office of Prime Cabinet Secretary in the Constitution. Tunasema the country of Kenya has more problems than solution. More scandals. Please, the government should rectify on that. We need a country which is beneficial to everyone, not to some individuals. Please, the government, leave Boniface Mwangi alone. Please, leave Boniface Mwangi alone. Leave Hussein alone. Leave another activist alone. We are there to fight for our country, for what is right for us. Thank you very much.